Okay, we're going to have our information about shapes now, and those are specifically the ones that are on the toolbar. Um, when you do the shapes, you're usually going to want to keep your layers up, as well as properties will pop up because it's going to control what they look like. So let's go ahead and go down here. And we have some pretty strong presets, which are good. We've also got the line tool that's embedded here and the custom shape tool. These are kind of more or less clip art from Photoshop, which sometimes it's nice to start with something simple. And other times you're going to want to create it yourself. If you're going to create it yourself, I'd probably say go over to Illustrator, but here's some basic ones. So something to note is that when you click on the tool, you do get some options up here. You can tell it, multiple things. One is if you've got swatch color set up, you can figure those things out, but otherwise you can click on these recently used ones. You can click on some real basic colors, or just go to the color picker, and if you had an image that you wanted to pull from, you can just use the eyedropper right there. It's automatic. Right now I'll just do a salmon color. And we've also got our strokes, so if you want a stroke on it, that's what you would do. And this information that you're seeing here is about the stroke thickness. I guess I'll leave it on just so we can see it. And you can choose some real basic options here. You can dashed, dotted, and here you can change where the stroke goes. I'm going to make it a lot fatter just so you can really see it. Ooh, maybe not that fat. So what the alignment is doing is it's dictating if it's inside, outside, or straight, basically at the outer edge, it's adding a little bit of inside as well as outside. So it's centered essentially. Caps, you might not notice a difference. Depends on the type of shape you have, but you can round them off, block them off, or just leave them kind of as defaulted. Corners, same things. You probably will notice corners more than caps. And then there are some more options here if you want to see better. For example, if you chose a dashed line, you'd want to be able to modify how frequent they go. You might not like the default system, so those are just some different things to consider. So let's see, I'll just do a straight one for this one. Now, when you're on a tool like this, there's one or two things. You can just click once and then it will ask you what size of shape you would like. And this offering changes based on what type of shape you're looking for. So a rectangle is pretty simple. It wants to know what size you want and do you want to drag it from the center. This will come up later as something helpful or not helpful. And that's pretty small, so I'm going to do at least 2 inches. And you can make squares from here like this, or you can make rectangles. Either way, it drops one for you. And you can see that little bit of a black line. Now, what happens after I make a shape is that the information goes here to properties. And here's where I would like, okay, well, that's a little too small. I go ahead and bump that up. And you can see that it's eating up the center. And so if you pop it to the outside, there's the differences. So outside, kind of on the center, and then inside it really eats it up. So all those are variables for you to consider. Let's see. This one's not going to really change because it's a square, right? If you want to have a rounded edge, let's try. It didn't do much. Let's try a much higher number. There we go. So that will get you rounded. And if you wanted something for some reason that had a rounded edge on one but not on the other, then you'd have to unclick the link, and that will allow you to change the proportions. So there's a simple shape. Now let's try a different one. And that is just to drag one for yourself. What usually will happen is it's going to keep whatever properties you have last, right? So if you want something a little different, you'd have to go here and actually change those. Or you click off the tool and click back on it, and then you would change these items before you begin. So you can see it still remembers what I did last time. Because I didn't change it up here, I did a change within the properties just specific to that box. So there could be a standard that you want to keep, so make sure it looks like this, and then any changes that you want to see We'll take those off. I'll just take the stroke off of here, and to do that you just choose the null for the next ones that we make. And then if I want to change anything on this particular one, I need to be on the correct layer, and then I can choose, you know, if I decide, oh wait, I don't want a line on it at all, you could just basically take it down to 0, and that's a simple way to do it, or you can come up here and do the null again. Either way kind of works. Then for a perfect square, you do have to hold the shift key down as you're grabbing, and otherwise you can drag whatever kind of rectangle that you would like. So, you know, I'm just kind of pulling and dragging. One thing that I would like you to notice is, see where my mark is, and as I'm pulling out, it's actually a corner. If, however, yeah, that's fine. We'll just leave it at that. Okay, then the rounded rectangle comes up again. This one, again, you can choose over here on your palette later. Otherwise, if you just click once, this allows you to have that option right away. So I would say, you know, you can go with the default. The size of the pixels really has a huge amount to do with not only the size of the object that you're making, but also the file size. So if you have a high resolution file and a large file size, then these little tiny numbers really won't make a dent. You'll have to go much higher to be able to see them. I'll do from center again. Let's try 100 again. And this time you can see that it's not automatically together, so you'll just have to copy paste. And we'll just see what we got. So it's pretty similar to the last one, if not identical. There you go. So 2 ways to get the rounded rectangles to happen. And then ellipse tool. Well, if you click once, again, you have the option of just going ahead and making exactly what you need. Otherwise, you can click and drag and make an ellipse the size that you would need. Polygon tool, this one you can change up here. If you pay careful attention up at the top line, you'll see that some things change as you change which specific shape you're looking for. So as I go to polygon, all of a sudden I get an option for sides. And so, you know, it depends on how many you need. Are you an octagon, are you a pentagon, hexagon, etc. So you'll have to change that. Or again, you can click once and then you actually get far more options here. So number of sides, do you want to do a star though? And if you do a star, by how much do you want to indent? So there's definitely some things to consider here. This one's pretty wacky. I'll just try another one. For this one, let's just go ahead and make the sizes the same. 5 star, yeah, that's better. So stars are options if you do the 5 or more. Again, you get to decide how many you want. Let's try 10 just so you can kind of see what that looks like. You know, you're at this point the stroke is definitely too thick. It's taking over the space. Line tool is not one where you can click and just have a box open up. These ones are going to be dictated by the top, and what changes here is the weight of the line. We're going to make something a lot more fat so you can actually see what's going on. And let's show you. So you can click and drag, and here, because the stroke is so thick, you can't actually see anything within the line. Let's go a little bit bigger so you can see. Let's try 200. And now you can see black again. I'm going to continue to go up here just so you can see. There you go. Now you can see the middle. And so you would just have to, you know, modify again, like what do you need? How thick of a line do you want? All these are going to be based on the numbers that are here and the color that you choose, etc. So, you know, it's nice to be able to make whatever kind of lines. In the end, they can look like rectangles if you get real fat, but that's okay. And then again, these are the options here. And if you want something other than a perfect straight line, then as you drag it, you can see that those are the pretty drastic changes that are happening here. Let me drop this down a lot, make a new one. There we go. Now you can see on the line. And you can also make a line without any kind of dashes on it, right? You can just, again, take it down to 0, or you can go to null. You have to go down to the line for this stuff to be able to see the change. So it's a little bit annoying, but yeah, there's a couple things to make sure you are on if you want to see changes happen with those lines. You got to make sure that you're on the shape, but not only on the shape, you have to make sure that you're on the correct tool. So you got to go back to the line tool, and now you can actually change the way that this looks. All right, then last part, we've got a custom shape tool. Let's get rid of a few of these things. So the custom shape tool is similar to, like I mentioned, just like clip art. So there's some presets here. You can open these up and choose one that you like. And then if you go down here, you can actually make it whatever shape you want. To keep the proportion that's more of the original, hold the shift key down, and you just click and drag. And for these ones even, you can have a stroke on it or not. And there's quite a few to pick from. Everyone that uses Photoshop knows that these exist, so you'll just kind of have to, you might not want to use them for that reason if you're a professional, but if you're just having some fun, and specifically for my projects, you can certainly just use these for some fun for the collage project that will be coming up. So some basic animals, nothing too gigantic, but yeah, there's some fun things in there to look at. So that's it for shapes. Remember, it's a combination of a couple things depending on which particular tool you're on. For some of them, it's going to be that you can change the items up here and then get your new colors. For some of them, you're going to have to be on properties to see this. Not in this one in particular, but let me go back to the other one so you can kind of see the properties for squares and ellipses and things. They have properties right here, but some of the other shapes you'll have to go up to the top bar and be actually on the shape tool in order to be able to make those modifications up here. So it's a little annoying in that way. Just know if you can't change it one way, try the other one and we can hopefully find what you need.